This is my reptile room, and what makes me different to any other reptile YouTuber that you see out on the internet, my reptile room is just like anybody else's. It's not polished, it's not pretty, it's full of mess. Comment the kind of mess that's in your reptile room. But this video we're going to do the reptile room tour. Now we don't just have all of these animals here, we have got this big enclosure just here, 6 foot tall, 6 foot wide. It's 2 stories. So in the top we've got Popcorn, our Carl Sunglow boa constrictor. We'll go through her. Down here we've got Hugo, our Bosque monitor, Savannah monitor if you're in America. This bioactive enclosure is a leopard gecko enclosure. We have got so much, including future updates, which I was about to show you, but the light's in the way. We've got that big enclosure just up there, which we're really coming along with really nicely. I can't wait to show off how far we've actually come with that as well. But this reptile room, we're going to start with my main man, Diego. And Diego, he lives all the way down there. It's just a 4 foot, 2 foot, 2 foot enclosure. Absolutely nothing massively special. He's a 5-year-old bearded dragon in a fully bioactive setup. Semi-arboreal setup, as you can tell. We've got the full background build. We've got like hygrometers and all that sort of stuff built into the background. This background is actually 5 years old now. You can see it's starting to deteriorate slightly. It's just a polystyrene background that we shaped, covered it in like tile grout or plaster, and then painted over it and then sealed it, and it just worked perfectly fine. That's how we also made this piece here. He's up there. They're a semi-arboreal lizard, so they actually do love really climbing loads. I love his lighting in here. That's the Reptile Systems 25 Luminaire. As you can tell, it's got 2 strip UV lights in there. One of them being a zone 1, one of them being aimed for zone 3 animals. And that way you can just sort of do a sunrise, a sunset, that natural higher UV output that they'd naturally have in the wild. But that right there is Diego, our bearded dragon. Another one of our bioactive enclosures is this big 4 foot enclosure just here. Now we do want to rock work the whole outside of the enclosure as well, but this is our leopard gecko enclosure. Now don't say, oh, it's sand, it's going to kill them, all this sort of stuff, because listen, that's actually a solid substance. That was expanding foam covered in a tile grout. Before the tile grout and the plaster had actually set, we embedded the sand into it, so it's just that firm, solid surface. So all the sand you do see throughout this enclosure is exactly the same as that. We've got the full rock work hides over there. You've got a bottom hide, a top hide, and that's all heated up with the infrared heat projector by Mega Ray. They're the OGs of those sorts of things. There are other companies out there that do exactly the same sort of thing, and they're sort of advertising it as their own sort of brand of, we invented this new technology. Nah, sorry Arcadia, that technology has been out for like 20 years now, there or thereabouts. Now you can see this big hole up here. What is that? Well, if you come round the enclosure down to here and you open it up, there's the moist hide. That's also the egg laying box, because we do actually sometimes breed all these sorts of animals, and this year we don't think we are going to breed the leopard geckos. We're going to give them a year off. There's also a hide down there underneath that slab. Now every single night she comes out of the hot hide, she basks down on these 2 rocks here. Sometimes she'll go over there just before the lights go off, and then she'll just sort of lay around up here every now and then. She's absolutely amazing. Let's try and find her. We'll shut that door. We'll open that door. Now normally, there she is. Look at her. She's a normal leopard gecko. The same coloration that they'd naturally come out of the wild looking like. Absolutely amazing. Now we do have an awful lot of sort of live plants. We've got a few little succulents, live grasses, other grasses, more succulents kicking around all over the place. It's just an absolutely amazing enclosure. If you want to see the full build video on how I built this step by step, every little sort of detail, I'll leave a card just up there right now. But while we're on the course of the bioactive enclosures that we do have, we've got the traditional sort of tropical bioactive enclosure, the one that you see all over Facebook where people keep doing their crested geckos and stuff. Well, yeah, I've built one just here. Let's check that. Now it isn't perfect, solely because we've got a lot of feces and stuff kicking around on the actual glass, which we do really need to get in there and actually clean it. But there's a couple of new things happened in here which we'll run through. So this is a fully bioactive setup. It's got the fog system just there, which I do need to fill up with water. It's got the rain system just down there, which is absolutely amazing, because we just turn it on and poof, out it goes just like that. Now I'm turning it off because we're recording basically. In that bromeliad is normally where you'd see some of the actual mourning geckos. There's one hiding behind one of the leaves down there, which we probably won't get any focus on. But there is a kicker in this enclosure. What has recently happened? Well, we've always had trouble with the animals actually breeding in this enclosure. If you don't know, this is our mourning gecko breeding facility. Mourning geckos have got a genetic trait called parthenogenesis. They can breed and reproduce fertile eggs without the need of a natural male. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. You can have a couple in here, they'll just breed and lay eggs everywhere. We did it in a smaller enclosure where they could actually see each other and get to each other. Since we've put them in this enclosure and it has fully live, like grown out sort of thing, we've not really found any eggs. Now, we have found 2 babies before, or 3 babies. We'll run through them next, but we haven't actually found out what. There's one. You can just see his tail on that log work at the back just there. Wow. They're just amazing, absolutely amazing species. I love these, they're just absolutely amazing. But we put these little cups up here just so they could try and breed in there. We've got another log, a round circle log just there, and it runs all the way down so they can get in the bottom, they can get in the top, but it's totally sheltered and it's underneath the heat light, so that'll be a good place for them to actually lay their eggs. Guess what? They don't lay their eggs in there, so we put the coconut hide down there hoping that they would go in the coconut hide and lay their eggs in there. No, the idea is wherever they lay their eggs, we'd like to be able to get them out, because these will eat their babies, they will eat the young if they are a hungry species. There's loads of mourning geckos in here, although we're hardly seeing any. There is actually loads in here. But the other day, guess what we found? Boof. You can't really see. Let's get 2 eggs in there. We have got 2 mourning gecko eggs inside one of the cups. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to leave that in there for a second, hoping that it'll spur all the other ones in there to actually lay their eggs in there. Woof. Check him out. Check her, well, her out. Wow, that's just amazing. It's not often we see them interact just like this, but we have just chucked a load of fruit flies in there, so they are on sort of feeding mode at the moment. But yeah, we've just got those eggs in there, and we're going to leave them in there, hoping to spur all the others to start laying their eggs in there as well. Now, we've got this one all the way up here as well, but there is no eggs actually in there, so we'll just leave that there and just keep it there. Look at him, look at it, just sat there. Ha! It's not often we get this close and up and personal with these guys. But that is our mourning gecko breeding facility. Now, we did originally build this with a pond area, but if you'd like to know exactly how we built this whole enclosure, again, step by step, every little detail, how much it cost, where we got all the bits from, all the little hacks, then I'll leave a card just up there. Click on that and it'll show you everything. But as we said, there's that, and then we've got these 2 little jar enclosures up here. This one at the back is the baby mourning geckos. You can see there's one just there, there's one over on that back wall. There's another one just there as well. So yeah, we've got 3 baby mourning geckos in there. They're actually at the size where we're actually going to put them in there within our next video. That'll be our next video, solely because we've just fed them, so they're not going to be hungry. We've just fed them, so they don't need to worry about immediately finding food in that enclosure just there. So we're just feeding them up for the next day or 2. Then that'll be our next video, introducing them into there. That'll be absolutely fascinating, and then we can clear that tub up and try and hatch the eggs inside that tub. Are you getting dizzy with all this backwards and forwards now? But what's in this front one? Let's see if we can. There he is. There's Wish. Wish is a Chinese house gecko. Now, what is a Chinese house gecko? It's a house gecko from China. It's nothing special. It's nothing endangered. It's just a gecko that runs around like we have ants in the UK. They have these Chinese house geckos. It's as simple as that. Where did he come from? Because he has a story. He's what's classed as a wild stowaway, is a reptile, a species or an animal that comes to the UK when it shouldn't be coming to the UK. He basically come in a shipping container into Stoke-on-Trent. He was rescued. The workers at Stoke-on-Trent in that shipping container phoned up Cheshire Reptile Rescue. That's a company that we work very closely with, hence for Mushu and a few of the other bits. You'll always hear us mention it on this channel, solely because we do a bit of work for them. They got the option to go and pick him up, bring him back. Now, we've got the option of, the police say, you keep him as a pet, you look after him as best you possibly can, or we'll just simply destroy him. So every wild stowaway gets a home here, no matter what. And that is where Mushu comes in. Mushu? Who's Mushu? Again, Mushu's in this slightly bioactive enclosure. Look at that plant. It's doing absolutely amazing so far. Mushu is up there. Now, I do apologise for the flickering and the light. We've got a magnetic ballast on the UV lighting, and it just makes it flicker on camera. But there's Mushu, if you can just about see him. He's in this enclosure anyway. It's an arboreal style setup, 3-foot enclosure. He is a Calot's versicolor. He again is a wild stowaway. He came to the UK in a shipment of wood. Can you imagine the people at that wood place where they open the container ship up and out pops Mushu? One of the workers there from TM Reptiles on Instagram, he caught him, sent out the message, do you want him? The authority, they don't know what he is. He could be absolutely anything. But we've found this lizard, do you want him? I take him in, I quarantine him, get him all up to health, because the problem with wild stowaways is you've got to get them from their wild diet over to a diet that we can provide them in captivity. We just can't get hold of the animals, the bugs that they eat in the wild, so that we have to transition them, and that can be a tricky transition. But he came in a shipment of wood. TM Reptiles caught him, sent him over to us. We made all the calls, all the photos, sent off everything we need to do to find out what exact species he is so that we can get his care requirements perfect. We did. It took him about a week to get onto food. Everything's working perfectly fine. And that was 2 years ago, and he's doing perfectly healthy right now. We've still got to go through that enclosure just there. That enclosure just down there. We've got that enclosure just up there. We've got that enclosure just down there. We've got all of the amphibians and invertebrates just up there. We've got that one just up there. And the big one down here. Hello, Hugo. And we've got popcorn up there. So we're going to start this part with the invertebrates because we've found a name for our scorpion. We'll start off on the invertebrate rack. I call it the invertebrate rack, but it's not the invertebrate rack. It's just one shelf. It's got a load of invertebrates on. That's about it. But in this enclosure, you can't really see anything because she is hiding away. We've got a female Asamani tarantula, and she's all the way down the hide. You can just about see her legs just there. I really need to tart this enclosure up. It's nothing special. We tried to make it a bit naturalistic. She destroyed the plant and she's just gone a bit more naturalistic now, and that's it. That's how she likes it. In this one next to it, again, just another 30 cube Exoterra. That's not actually what's in this enclosure. What's in this enclosure is the scorpion. All the way down there. We've actually given her a name. We unboxed her on our last video, and basically we've named her Cuddles. Imagine that in a reptile room. So let's go and check out Cuddles. Boof, big scorpion. She's dead active. She's always up and about, walking around and everything. Here's a little kicker from that video that you did see on the last video. I've changed hands because she actually did sting my finger. There you go. She stung me. Oh, no, it's not going to focus. She stung my finger while we were unboxing her. I didn't put that out on camera because I didn't particularly want to advertise that too much. But if you did want to know what a scorpion sting actually feels like, it's just a little bit worse than an actual bee sting. That's all it is. She literally just sort of tagged my finger. It did swell up for about 3 or 4 days, and that's sort of about it, really. This one is a recent enclosure build. Again, another big bioactive enclosure build. What do you think of that? Live grasses, live substrates. Now, the majority of the substrate going around it, again, it looks loose, but it's not loose. It's a solid substance that was covered in cocoa fibre while it was still curing. So it's all still solid. Full rock work background with the log work, rocks everywhere, water dish. Inside that hide, she was just out, is our Lasiodorus parabana, I think that's how it's pronounced. A salmon pink bird eater anyway. But she's got some of the substrate out of the hide, put it on the front of the hide, just there, webbed over it, made it nice and secure, dug some more out, which is just this pile here, webbed over all that. So I think she's trying to close her hide off that little bit more because it did have a light on it. The light was shining right into the actual hide. So we basically just took the light out of the light unit that's on top, and we use it down here as a plant grow light in this little Exoterra. We've got a few plants there, we've got a load more plants just over there, a load more plants down there, a load more plants all the way over there, and they're all going to be plants to go into this big enclosure just here. This is one that we're building, so if you want to see this enclosure, make sure you do subscribe. We're getting really close to the actual finish of this build. All we've got to do, I'll sit down, we've done the thermostat probe, which is just up there. We've done all the, well, everything. The background is absolutely amazing. We've taken about 10 different styles of background build and added it into this enclosure. It's just going to be absolutely amazing. But we've blocked off the bottom now so we can do the big substrate. We've got the big plant up there ready to go into it. We've got all the planters ready on the sides. It's just everything is going to be absolutely perfect when we do actually get the animal in here. But there's a big twist on this video. When we actually do upload this video, there's a massive change at the end of the video. So make sure you do watch that video from start to finish without actually cutting any of it. It's going to probably take about 2 weeks for that video to actually get uploaded. But eventually, yeah, that'll be good. This little enclosure just here, I don't know how well we're going to see him because he's an expert at hiding. But this is the baby white tree frogs enclosure. They are really, really baby, so they're going to be around somewhere. They just love to hide in that enclosure. Or more enclosures in the reptile room, then we'll shoot over and check out this big one. Charlie! Charlie is a super passed out yellow belly royal python. Now his enclosure really isn't anything special at all. I can't wait to go fully bioactive here with a little bit of arboreal sort of treatment to it as well. Next to Charlie we have got Rosie, just sat down there, loving life. She's just a standard common boa constrictor. She's not the best. I mean, her personality is kind of the same personality as an angry ex-girlfriend, so we don't really handle her too much. What else have we got over here? This one just here is a Talitli cattle Verdezi. It's a bit blurry, it's a bit shaky because I am zoomed in. She's only a 1 centimetre sling. She's a new one to our collection. She came in the same sort of box as Cuddles, the scorpion. For those who didn't know, the Lasiodorus, a salmon pink bird eater, is now called Sparrow to coincide with the fact that it's a salmon pink bird eater. Did you know that they're actually called a bird eater for the wrong reasons? They don't actually eat birds in the wild or anything like that. The people who first spotted these called them bird eaters to their local authority so they can get more money for the funding to actually go out and explore more often. Oh my god, these eat birds. Oh wow, here's some money, go and check it out a bit more. That's all that was. Talking about Talitli cattle, in this enclosure just here is another Talitli cattle. This is an Albi Blossom. We actually built this enclosure. Again, a full proper build video. She's not out at the moment. She's live grassed out water bowl. Yeah, she's got the hide under there. That's where she'll be in the hide. It's supposed to look like the tree roots coming down because you've got the root that comes down over there, root that comes down over there, and there's the burrow underneath. That's literally how they live in the wild, in the roots of a tree. So if you want to see the build video on how I've done that, because it was quite unique how I actually built that, because it was quite a tricky build. If you want to see the whole step-by-step on that build as well, just click on the card directly above now. That one just up there, top of the rack. It's a 45 cube Exoterra. We have got an African millipede, and there's a few little Morio worm beetles and sun beetles in there too. But we've also got some sun beetles kicking around in there as well. The plan with that sort of enclosure up there is to do sort of like an invertebrate communal sort of style enclosure. So we could have a few different species in there that would naturally live together in the wild and just build it up, nice big background and live planted. It's just going to look absolutely amazing. We're still trying to come together with a few little ideas to go in there as towards species to put together. But let's go check out Hugo. Popcorn! Popcorn is our Carlson boa constrictor. He's around about 4 years old. He's sort of 6 foot long, hence why he is in this big 6 foot enclosure just here. We have got an absolute ton of branches just kicking around, and yeah, he absolutely loves climbing in this enclosure. He's hardly ever on the floor, and look at him just sat there on the floor when I decided to come and put the camera in. He's got Butterface there. He loves to climb on that branch at the back and stick his whole body behind the actual branch. You should hear the creaking noise that comes off that. But he does love me. Every single time he sees me, he just wants to sort of say hi to me. He's dead active. He loves it. I put his activeness down to the heating. The Mega Ray infrared heat projector. I highly rate that product. Like I've said in the previous, on this video, the DHP and stuff like that. That's basically that, but the more OG version of it. And it just fires down a better wavelength of infrared heat for the actual animals. It deeply penetrates the animals, gives them a better metabolism, it warms them from the inside out, and it just does an amazing job at anything to do with heating reptiles. Now he's, like I say, really, really active. He's always walking around the actual enclosure. If you want to know what all these names are just here, this is our channel membership. So if you join the channel membership, there is a join button below, and there's also a link in the description. Your name will go just on there. If we ever do a live stream, and you do a super chat, your name goes on that bottom piece there. It's just a little piece of information, a little bit of a thank you to those guys. But back to Popcorn. He's actually really good. Now, when we first got him years ago, he was always bred to be a male breeder, and then they just lost plans, didn't want to do it no more. They gave him to me. He was always lived in a rack system. I gave him this big enclosure just here with the full rock work, all the ledges, everything that's naturalistic, and he absolutely loves it, and he's tamed down really nicely, and he's just a sweetheart now. He really is. I'm debating whether or not to pair him this year with Rosie, our other boa constrictor. The only thing putting me off that is actually when I do get the babies, and I've boa constrictors are a hard animal to shift. And that's the number one sort of issue you have when you do start breeding animals. It's one of the reasons why I'm not breeding the leopard geckos this year. There's just too many out there this year. Same with boa constrictors, there's just too many out there. They're just a hard animal to get rid of. I'll put through all that stress and I just trying to spend loads and loads of time trying to find a forever home for that animal. It is what it is, isn't it? Now, I would show you Hugo, but it's getting late now and his lights have gone off, so he's probably gone to sleep now. So tune in next time to see Hugo.